What's up, everybody? I'm Mark Raymond Jr., joined by my lovely co host, Sarah Hartware, on Able Today, a comprehensive resource promoting and raising awareness about able accounts and other disability resources to hopefully improve the quality of life of people with disabilities. But, Sarah, today I am super excited about our guest. You want to
We
tell everybody
have,
who it is?
yes, we have a great guest, Mark. As we've newly launched this show, we're having I think, series of leaders, influencers in the national ABLE community join us, and really excited to have Treasurer Stacy Garrity from Pennsylvania, the Pennsylvania State Treasurer, who not only leads the Pennsylvania ABLE program, she also serves as the chair of the ABLE Savings Network, or better known as ASPN, to help kind of kick things off from her perspective. Mark and I have the privilege of working with the Pennsylvania ABLE program day in and day out, to help expand the outreach, not just through every corner of Pennsylvania, but they do a lot of work to support all of the national ABLE programs. So I'm really excited about this episode, excited about her leadership and what she's done for the ABLE community, but also excited to hear kind of her perspective, Mark, on the Able Age Adjustment Act, which she played a pivotal role in the advocacy to help get that across the finish line.
Yeah, I am too. And the other side too is like all of us, we know somebody who has a disability or is a caregiver, and knowing that she has a personal experience with that too, and she's going to talk about that a little bit. Like, I'm really excited to hear her share that story, but also all the great work that not only Pennsylvania Able is doing, but Able outreach across the country, and how much we've grown. Things that have just a lot has happened, right?
A lot has happened. A lot of milestones in the number of accounts, the number of assets under management. I think she's going to share a little bit more about the success that Pennsylvania's had with their outreach to increase their Pennsylvania ABLE numbers. And I just really value her leadership because she sees Pennsylvania ABLE as, one piece of the larger ABLE community. So I think it's going to be a great show and great conversation.
I think so too. So, well, with no further ado, you ready to bring it to the floor?
Yes, let's get her from the green room on to the center stage here.
All right, Treasurer Garrity, it's so exciting to have you on with us today to talk about everything ABLE related. I know Sarah and I have had these conversations quite a bit, but you're like our fearless leader right now. So I'm gonna get right into the questions though. And Treasurer Garrity, can you just give us a few details about your background and why you're so dedicated to a career in public service?
Sure. Mark, first of all, I want to say it's just great to be on with you and Sarah today. But serving as Pennsylvania's treasurer is my first elected office, but it's not my first role in public service. So I served in the United States Army Reserves for more than 3 decades. And serving our country was and is the honor of a lifetime. I was part of 3 combat deployments, all to the Middle East. And if it weren't that thing that's called the mandatory retirement day, I would still be serving in the Army, because serving was and is the honor of a lifetime. And I also had a long private sector career at Global Tungsten and Powders Corporation, which is the largest tungsten smelter in the Western world. I worked there also for over 3 decades and worked my way up to become one of 2 female vice presidents of the company. So with my military retirement, which was in 2016, it was great to step back and just focus on my private sector job for a while, but it didn't really take long to feel that pull to serve the public again. And I felt I had a unique skill set to continue work in public service through a political position, but it really was uncharted territory. Really never running a campaign before, I had a lot of reservations. But I prayed about it, I thought about it, and then I decided, well, if not me, then who? So I went for it. And no one expected me to win, but I did. And I was actually the first incumbent to unseat unseat somebody in a statewide race since 1988. And more interestingly,
Wow.
the first time someone from a rural county won a statewide race, not including judicial races, in more than 40 years. So I am grateful to God for the opportunity to continue serving the public. And I am incredibly grateful and thankful for the Pennsylvanians who had faith in me when they cast their vote.
That's incredible. Stories like yours, that's the reason we do this work.
It's absolutely true. I mean, what a call to public service, and what a journey, Treasurer Garrity. I know we've talked at a number of NAS conferences, similar to your journey to public service. It was actually my advocacy work on the ABLE Act and all of the work that we've done since essentially 2006, 2007 to bring both parties together to really help provide this private sector solution to a public sector problem with individuals with disabilities not having, enough access to benefits, and, having that financial security that inspired me to run for Congress in 2020. And what a time that was. I got second in a 5-way primary, and really was able, I think, to resonate as a newcomer to politics with a number of constituents and voters, about the ABLE journey. And so now you get to lead not only for Pennsylvania, the Pennsylvania ABLE program, but you're really the leader of our entire ASPN ABLE network. So maybe share with our audience a little bit more about your unique role and what kinds of programs and responsibilities a state treasurer takes on, and how that oversees, or how that intersects with the ABLE program in Pennsylvania.
Absolutely, I would love to. So first and foremost, I am a fiscal watchdog. So my job is to protect more than $150 billion in state assets. And fun fact, Treasury makes every payment from our state agencies. And last year we processed about 21 million payments, and that's almost 3 payments a second. So as treasurer, I also oversee programs that help increase financial wellness for Pennsylvanians. And of course, I am so extremely proud of our PA ABLE program. It is the largest program in the National ABLE Alliance, and we just crossed a brand new milestone, $100 million. And this just happened last week.
Wow.
So people,
Congrats.
yes, thank you. I'm so excited about it. So people have saved more than $100 million for disability-related expenses in more than 8,000 accounts. And I'm really looking forward to 2024 because we're already planning a series of events across Pennsylvania to promote the program crossing that $100 million threshold.
That's amazing. I was there way back when Pennsylvania opened the first ABLE account. After the federal legislation became the law of the land, to hit $100 million in one state program. That's phenomenal, and huge testament to your leadership and your team, because we have a ball working with them every single day.
Yeah, they're great.
They are. And, Treasurer, the work that Sarah and I really focuses on is the outreach, is really meeting people where they are. Can you speak specifically to how your team engages with people with disabilities and their caregivers to promote ABLE in Pennsylvania?
Mark, I would love to. So I think the big answer to this question is that we're focused on making it easier to open and use PA ABLE accounts, and we're focused on making sure that everybody knows the program exists. So PA ABLE, of course, was launched in 2017, and it has always been extremely bipartisan. Sarah, you were talking about that earlier in the program. One of our Pennsylvania senators, Bob Casey, a Democrat, has been a leader at the national level. And at the state level, Senator Lisa Baker, a Republican, has been very instrumental every step of the way. And as I mentioned earlier, we do have over 8,000 accounts with over now $100 million saved. But connecting with people who have a disability and their families is something that we focused on every single day. So we want them to know all about the great benefits of ABLE, being able to save for the future without worrying about possibly losing critical means tested benefits. That's just huge. And in Pennsylvania, we offer a state tax deduction for contributions to PA ABLE accounts. So I travel to all 67 counties in Pennsylvania. every single year. So I did it in 21, in 22, and this year. And I always talk to people who don't know about PA Able, or if they do know about it, they don't really understand how great it is. So one thing I've done is expanded our outreach team. So now we have a regional outreach staff across the state, and a big part of their job is to connect with disability groups and communities in all four corners of the state. We're also working closely with the Social Security Administration to share information about how ABLE accounts interact with the SSA benefits, because that's an area we get a lot of questions about, as you both know, and there is a lot of misinformation out there. So we're really trying hard to make sure people have the information they need. Another thing that we're doing is a lot more to engage with employers, which I think is huge. For example, we're partnering with the Society for Human Resource Management to position ABLE accounts as a workplace benefit. So that would make it easier for people to contribute to an ABLE account right out of their paycheck. And it's really just a fantastic way to help them save more. And the other thing that we're doing is we're completely redesigning the PA ABLE website. We're going to make sure it's even more streamlined and easier to use. And that will happen in the first quarter of this new year, 2024. And we're also going to make sure that it's available not just in English, but also in Spanish, and then hopefully other languages down the road.
Love it.
We don't know when the Pennsylvania ABLE team and Treasurer Garrity sleeps. That's for sure, because we've talked a lot about what Pennsylvania ABLE is doing, but Treasurer Garrity, you also are the chair of ASPN and the ABLE Network, and spend a lot of your not so free time helping lead the collaboration amongst all of the ABLE programs across the country. And, as somebody, Mark hears me talk about this all the time, as somebody who's, been involved in ABLE for a long, long time, to see the collaboration and the alignment of all of the ABLE programs working together, as Mark said it, and he says it so well, to meet people with disabilities, their family members and caregivers where they are, is pretty absolutely incredible. So talk to us a little bit about the work that you're leading for ASPN and what you're doing on behalf of all the state ABLE programs.
And also what ASPN is.
Oh,
I
yes.
think a lot of our listeners don't know yet.
Okay. Yes. No, I'd be happy to. So ASPN stands for ABLE Savings Plan Network, and it is really exciting to help launch. It's a brand new network completely devoted to ABLE programs. So it's an honor for me, and it is a big responsibility, Sarah, as you mentioned. But the first thing I noticed is the incredible energy of all the dedicated ABLE administrators that participate in ASPN, because this isn't technically part of their jobs, but they're devoting their free time to help improve ABLE programs across the country. And I am personally very thankful for all of them. And our efforts are bearing fruit. So at the end of the third quarter, with all but one plan reporting, there were over 158,000 ABLE accounts with assets totaling $1.55 billion nationwide. And those are big numbers and really important. But the most amazing thing is how people are being helped. Every new ABLE account means that another person is taking a big step forward toward a better future. And that really means a lot to me. And it really is personal. I have a brother-in-law who has MD. He's in his early 50s and he can't walk. And my sister is his caregiver and also is a full-time teacher. So I see, the everyday struggles. And so that's, why this program is, incredibly important to me.
It matters. And I tell everybody, we all know somebody who has a disability or somebody who's a caregiver. And the more that we continue to push initiatives like this forward, the better the whole world will be tomorrow, right? And that's the challenge, though. I think a lot of times we also don't want to prepare for disability. It's like, as a human, I don't want to think about that. I don't want to think about the bad thing that could happen or if it will happen. And so a lot of times we aren't prepared, but people like us are doing the work so that if and when it does happen to someone, there are resources in place to make sure that people can still live the best quality of life as possible. But also, another big milestone was made this year for ABLE. early on, at the end of last year, the Able Age Adjustment Act was passed, and we all lobbied, we all petitioned, we all made phone calls. But talk to us a little bit about what that means for so many more Americans.
I'd love to, Mark. The Able Age Adjustment Act is incredibly important because it will extend ABLE eligibility to an additional 6 million people, which is truly fantastic. And something very important to me is that it includes 1 million veterans, many of whom suffer disabilities after their 26th birthday while defending our country. I personally know many veterans who are in exactly that situation. So it is an issue that I care deeply about. I can't say enough about the good work done by Pennsylvania's U.S. Senator Bob Casey, who spearheaded the original ABLE Act of 2014, and then he introduced the Able Age Adjustment Act and did a lot of work to push it through. He has always been a leader on ABLE. Now, I spent a lot of time in Washington, D.C., just as everybody else did, and on the telephone, encouraging all of Pennsylvania's congressional delegation to support the bill. And I'm very proud of how much support it did receive. So we had former Senator Pat Toomey, who was a co-sponsor of the Senate bill. And then in the House, 17 out of 18 of Pennsylvania's members co-sponsored the bill. So again, it's always been a bipartisan issue. So the Able Age Adjustment Act does go into effect on January 1st, 2026. And between now and then, all of us have a lot of work to do so that we can make sure everyone who will become eligible knows about it. So basically what it does, it takes the age of the onset of your disability from 26 to 46. So it adds 20 years. So that's absolutely huge.
It's absolutely incredible. And we've talked a lot about this, Treasurer Garrity, on this show and with our Able Today team and colleagues that, how many pieces of landmark legislation or landmark laws can you point to that has been improved so many times? And I think it is the true testament of that bipartisanship where we've really got leaders, not just at the federal level, but at the state level, to understand this is a unique tool to really help individuals with disabilities achieve that financial empowerment that I think everybody in our country wants. So again, thank you for your leadership and the amount of support that I think Pennsylvania saw is a true testament to all of the advocacy work that you did kind of day in and day out for the overall national program. I think I have one more question, Mark, and then I'm going to turn it back over to you to help wrap things up. But we always like to ask every person on our Able Today show to share their favorite Able success story. And I'm sure you have countless stories in Pennsylvania, but if you'd be willing to share one with our listeners, we would absolutely love it.
Sure, Sarah. And you're right. It is difficult to pick just one, because PA Able has helped so many people in so many ways, both big and small. But one of my favorites is about Andrew, who is a 28-year-old man with autism. He works at Giant Eagle Supermarket in Allegheny County near Pittsburgh. So Andrew and his mom learned about PA Able at a presentation in Pittsburgh about 5 years ago, so early on in the program. And he opened a PA Able account, and he's used it to save enough money for a down payment on a car that he uses to go to work. And he has a new goal, and that's to save for an apartment. But PA Able has been a key to Andrew's independence and being able to save that money while continuing to have access to benefits. So Andrew says he gets very excited when he opens his statements and he sees how much money he saved, and he's really happy about the growth in his investments. So savings is important to him. He was able to buy that car when he was 25, which was a huge deal for him. And he's told members of our staff that he feels successful, which is absolutely tremendous.
That's awesome. I think Mark, Andrew might be a future guest on our show. We'd love to have him on to talk about just his individual experience.
Yeah, personal stories are the best.
They are.
Especially understanding like how it benefits everyday people. And it gives actually it's the roadmap for future able users, right? But thank you, Sarah. And Treasurer Garrity, to piggyback on Sarah's question, to you, what is the best thing about ABLE?
That's easy for me, Mark. It's independence. Because when you think about it, before ABLE, people with disabilities, they really weren't able to save money, and that is disgraceful. So ABLE accounts, they help a lot of people live more independently. ABLE accounts give them a level of control over their finances that they were never able to have before. And I always like to remind folks about their tremendous tax benefits, and that includes no federal or state income tax owed on earnings or on withdrawals for qualified expenses. Contributions up to $17,000 can be deducted on state income taxes annually, and that $17,000 moves up to $18,000 in the beginning of 2024. And the accounts are exempt from Pennsylvania's inheritance tax, which is huge. And I said it earlier, but it's worth repeating. Being able to save without worrying about possibly losing access to important means-tested benefits, it is a huge game changer. And for so many people like Andrew, who we just talked about, this is the first time that they're actually able to save money. And whether that's for short-term expenses like rent or groceries, or for something larger like an adaptive vehicle or improvements in their home to increase accessibility, it's just amazing.
Well put. And I think that's why we all do the work that we do, right? To serve the public and make
Yes.
sure that they are getting access to all the resources possible to live independent, high quality lives.
Absolutely. And the outreach, and just Treasurer Garrity, by having you on our show, will hopefully open up more opportunities to expand ABLE into wider audiences of individuals with disabilities and their families and caregivers. So we're incredibly grateful to you for joining us, but also just the work that you do day in and day out for the entire National ABLE program.
So Sarah and Mark, thank you so much for inviting me to join you on this podcast, and thank you for the work you're doing to spread the word about ABLE. And Mark, your story is truly inspiring. I can't thank you enough for all of the work you do advocating for those living with disabilities. And I want to encourage any of your listeners who are active in a community or disability advocacy group to reach out to the ABLE program in their state. In Pennsylvania, we often work with groups to schedule a presentation or workshop or a webinar about PA ABLE, and I know a lot of other states do that as well. But it's so important for state ABLE programs to connect with advocacy organizations. And anyone who wants to learn more about PA ABLE can visit the website paable.gov or email us info@paable.gov. Thanks again for having me.
Love it. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for joining us.